I don't have to change anything or try to like remember like, oh, who am I marketing to? I'm not marketing to anyone necessarily. I'm just being me and sharing my story.
Hello and welcome to episode 217 of the Smart Agents Podcast. As always, my name is Michael Walter and I'll be your host. On today's episode, we are joined by Charleston, South Carolina-based agent Winnie Rodgers. Now 6 years into her thriving real estate career, Winnie shares how leaning into her own personal brand has created a more enjoyable and sustainable business. Highlighting her love of tattoos, rock and roll music, and pinup culture, Winnie has certainly carved out a unique personal brand for herself. Beyond selling real estate, Winnie's true passion is teaching fellow agents and travels the country doing just that. Throughout our conversation, Winnie shares how she grew her own real estate business, how she's attracting agent referrals via social media, and why it's so important to build an authentic personal brand. But before we get on to the day's featured interview, if you or someone else on your team has an incredible story of real estate success or tips to share with our community, send us a message to feedback@smartagents.com. We're always on the lookout for new guests to inspire our listeners. And lastly, if you enjoy this conversation and want to hear more, be sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents Podcast. We stream on all major podcasting platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. All right, let's get on with our conversation with Winnie Rodgers. If you're interested in connecting with Winnie or learning more about her courses she teaches, be sure to check out the episode description. All right, well, really the way I like to start everything out is if you could just introduce yourself to us a little bit. Tell us where you're at and a bit about your real estate journey.
Yeah, so my name is Winnie Rodgers. I'm in Charleston, South Carolina. And I actually got started in real estate because I flipped a few houses with my dad. My dad's a contractor. So we did that. And I definitely realized, previously I was working in the marketing field and publishing and like not necessarily satisfied with my commute or paychecks or things like that. So I decided to kind of, I loved flipping the houses. I enjoyed it so much. I loved like the budget of it and the construction part and, tearing stuff down and putting it back together. Our whole family are kind of like in the construction world. So then I was actually chatting with my real estate broker at the time. And she said, hey, go get your license. And I was like, okay. So I had the time to do it. So I went ahead and just did it. And I was with her for a while. So I was with a boutique brokerage for a while and just really wanted more support. So I switched over to a different brokerage. And that's when kind of everything changed. I learned systems. I learned tools. My business is very relationship based in general. So people were always just like a huge, like a Rolodex, always just like such a huge part of my business. But I really learned how to do it in the way that felt natural to me. And that like with the systems and the support and the tools. But so I've been in real estate now 6 years and love it. And then, as we chatted about before, like started teaching just as a way to pay it forward because real estate changed my life so drastically, like insanely. So I started to teach and found out that like, I actually really love doing this. So now I travel around and teach. I still sell here locally in Charleston and then love to travel around and teach agents.
Awesome. Yeah. So getting back to, getting your start in real estate, what was it that, you did to get your name out there and to kind of build that Rolodex of people that you could start, building your sphere around?
Yeah. So it was really cool. I feel like a lot of agents overcomplicate it and they're thinking, you have to buy leads and you have to get your leads from this and you have to network constantly and you have to go to all these events and you have to schmooze. And it's like, that was overwhelming to me. And I remember taking a class and this huge top producing agent had 5 lead generation pillars. And I was like, ooh, only 5? And then she even said, and I only had 3 at first. And I was like, I just felt like just like this calm wash over me. So to build my business, it was funny. It was my second full year in business, was just before the year before COVID hit. So I had, an opportunity to see what the market was before that world. But I was meeting with my coach and I had very low expectations for my business, like so low. And he's like, well, how have your clients come so far? And I was like, they're just my friends or friends of friends. And so he's like, all right, well, let's put some intention around this. So really, I built my entire business off of coffee and happy hours with my girlfriends. That was my one lead generation pillar for probably the first 2 years of my business. And I would start to kind of trickle in vendors, contractors, lenders, attorneys, stuff like that into my like one coffee appointment a week. But really, that's it. And it felt so just relaxing and relieving that I didn't have to go outside of myself. Like coffee or a happy hour with my girlfriend, like easy, like we got this. So that's really like how I started to build those relationships. And then my business just grew.
Right. And so I think, there's sometimes people, when I talk to people, they're like, I don't want to rely on my girlfriends and, doing those coffees. I feel like I may be imposing and, putting my business, in their lap and things like that. But, talk to me about, you said it was so relaxing to do that and just have those conversations, and tell me about how you were able to
real estate.
Right. So talk to me about, just having those relationships with people, but, just every once in a while reminding them this is what you did or this is what you were doing now.
It's so funny. I teach this one technique, and it's kind of a joke, and I always get a laugh out of it. But one of my biggest real estate scripts is, well, I'm in real estate, so. And I joke that I flip my hair. I don't necessarily flip my hair. Sometimes I do. But I'm in real estate, so. And then I change the subject. Or I'm in real estate, so I have a flexible schedule. I'm in real estate, so I can meet you for coffee anytime. I'm in real estate, so I'm going to be in Somerville, an area outside of town on Thursday. Do you want to meet for coffee? So it's just like this little, and that's kind of it. So whenever I was having, these coffee and happy hours, I was not bringing up real estate. I'm just asking how they are. Like I'm literally just hanging out with my girl, and that was just that. But inevitably the conversation is going to go to, how's real estate? How's the market? And so you just have like, say your one or two sentences. And then for me, I just flip it back on them again, and what I have found is by the end of conversations, or even maybe it wasn't at that conversation, but it was the next coffee or happy hour that we had. They're like, you know what? My uncle needs to sell, or you know what? Like my cousin is about to move to town. And then it's so much easier too, because the relationships that I'm getting are already warm. They're already kind of connected to me. It's my friend's cousin, or it's my friend's uncle, or whatever, or my friend's friend. And so I'm not even vying for the business at that point. I'm sort of handed it to an extent. Right, not that I haven't had to sometimes, but
Right. Well, that makes things a whole lot less stressful than making all those cold calls and, hoping that, gosh, am I the 17th person that's called this, this seller lead in the last 3 days? And, I definitely see how building those warm relationships is definitely the way to go.
Yeah. And I think that there are some people that crush that type of lead generation method. They're so good at it. And I just never had a desire to learn it. And I think part of it is because I already had, like, I'm from Charleston, South Carolina, born and raised, like many generations. So I already had kind of like people here, even if it was my uncle or my cousin, So it was like, I didn't have to do it that way. And I think a lot of people think that you have to do it all these different ways. And it's like, actually, you have to find the way that feels most genuine to you, because then you're going to want to do it. And then it's sustainable. Because if what you're doing isn't sustainable, then you're going to burn out. So you're like, all right, well, I'm supposed to do open houses every week, and you're not necessarily a fan of that. Then maybe you'll do it for like 3 months, but you're going to get tired of it. So it's not sustainable. It's not easy. It's not, you're going to fail at some point, and you're going to think it's you, right? And it's actually your lead gen method.
Right. Absolutely. I want to ask you about, when you go on your social media pages, your website, your name, it's Winnie is there. Was that, was personal branding something that you really leaned into right out of the gate, or was that something that you kind of evolved into over time?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I teach real estate branding classes too. So because mine was a little bit of a journey. So I come from a marketing background. That was my world before. 20 years freelance corporate marketing. And so when I first started, I wanted to be kind of branded towards Charleston, like towards my city so that people could just find me that way. And so I tried that on for size. And I don't think it was really resonating with anyone because really when people think of me, they think of Winnie, red hair, glasses. That's what they think of. And honestly, they think of tattoos. So like I'm the girl that they go to for, hey, who's the tattoo artist that you like in town? Hey, like where's the music venue? Things like this. So I was actually asking around in my office and I was like, should I go for, a more generic name? And they were like, Winnie, your name is a brand. Your name is unique. You are unique. Like there's not a lot of crazy redheads in Charleston that, in general that look like me. Like I stand out on the street already here. I'm not wearing pastels, So I just leaned into the Winnie Rodgers and I had a really talented graphic designer was like, Winnie, just lean into the tattoo thing. So he developed my actual logo. And then I decided to, all right, well, let's double down on it. What do I love? I love vintage, pinup girl culture, kind of art deco stuff. So then I had someone kind of like draw me as a pinup girl. And that has like my business has gotten so much honestly easier because of that, but it's also more genuine. Like I don't have to fake that I like a certain type of music or whatever. Like people just already know, like they already like know what to expect when they see my branding right out the gate. I don't have to introduce myself and say, hi, I'm Winnie. I like rock and roll, or whatever it is. Like my branding tells my story and it gets me clients because they don't want that kind of like all buttoned up, prim and proper, like super pompous real estate agent. So I get the people that are meant for me. Like, and it really is, I believe a huge part because I've doubled down on the branding and my pillars, like my social media, my content marketing pillars are clearly defined based on who I am and what I love and what I want to share. Like I talk about yoga and I talk about metaphysical stuff. I posted my Halloween playlist today.
Right. I saw that. So, little Alice Cooper. Yeah. I saw Alice Cooper.
Totally. So and it's that also, once again, it's sustainable. When it's aligned, it's sustainable. So I don't have to change anything or try to like remember like, oh, who am I marketing to? I'm not marketing to anyone necessarily. I'm just being me and sharing my story.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think by being authentic in your branding, I think that does so many different things for you. First of all, like you said, you're not stressing out about trying to pretend you're somebody that you're not, and you are attracting the clients that are going to be those lifelong friends and people that you can build lifelong connections with because you have like interests and things like that.
Totally.
So I think, by, really diving in and really, branding yourself as your authentic self, I think that does so much, for building a sustainable real estate business.
Yeah. I always teach in my branding class. I'm sure I say this in other ones of my classes, but I say, if your brand says that you should do something, then you probably shouldn't. Like if there's a should, then that's an outside in connection. It's like, well, I should focus on luxury. Really? Why? Like, that's fine. That's great. I understand that you can, potentially earn more money from it. But like, is that your calling or is that a should? You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I guess all of us should, okay.
Right.
But there's, it's also a smaller pool of it. So.
Right. Absolutely. So when you started really diving in and doubling down on this personal brand and sharing, more of your authentic self on social media, tell me how did, how did the leads come in and how did, the connections that you were starting to build with maybe people that you didn't know, but found you through those social media posts?
So a lot of it happened. So a big part of my business is agent to agent referrals. So that's a huge, I would say that most of my social media like following is more agents than it is my actual clients. My clients I see in real life. I do newsletters. I'm super big into my newsletters. That's like one of my things. And then I have parties. So like we're having our Halloween party this weekend. So just like creating those or just like setting up events. Like I do a lot of client events. So my clients kind of see me in person. So that's almost like a different sect. And then, but on social media, I feel like most of my following are other agents. So I want to make sure that they know, I'm going to take care of their clients, that I'm good at my job, that I know the area really well, and that their clients are going to just feel safe and at home with me. I feel like when being offered a referral from an agent in another city, they're vetting you on a different basis. They're not even necessarily vetting you as much on your skill set, as much on in as much as they're vetting you on your heart. Are you going to take care of them in a way that they would? Because it's a person that they already care about usually. So it's making sure that they know who I am, so that they know which of their clients I am going to nurture and love and support the best. I feel like that's kind of how I showcase that. And so it's grown since then. And then me teaching around too is just an extension of that. It's who I am. I teach. That's I've wanted to be a teacher since I was 4, but went in the business world instead, which I'm very grateful for. I think this was the right move for me. But that's just an extension. It's all that's one of the things whenever it is aligned too, is my newsletter, my client events, my social media, my teaching style, every single thing is oh my gosh, that's so Winnie. Right up, nobody has to question it any place I go.
Yeah, absolutely. And, honestly, I think you're one of the first people I've talked to that is really talked about, having, the social media audience is the other agents. And I think that is super smart, because really when somebody's on social media scrolling or they're looking, at the stuff that's being served to them, a lot of times it's going to be, other agent stuff, or, maybe not necessarily, I guess I'm just saying is a lot of the stuff that you're putting out there that is getting viewed by people that are not necessarily your followers are going to be other agents. So if you're creating content that they can connect with, they're more likely to start building that trust.
I have 6 content pillars, and 2 of those pillars are agent forward, agent facing pillars. They're just completely to make sure that agents know that I teach and that I'm good at my job and I'm a good Charleston local person that'll take care of their clients. So those are kind of 2 of my pillars that just go out there.
When did that start for you? What was it that, really kind of set that off, that I want to, market to fellow agents to get those referrals?
So it was probably during some sort of a business planning, something. I think it was 2020. At the end of 2020, I went through and I looked at all of the deals that I had done, and I was like, where did they come from? Right. So, because honestly, I thought actually that one of my lead gen sources was more prevalent than it was. And it was only 1 or 2. So I really just calculated, and it was something like 30% of my deals were from referring agents. So I was like, okay, cool. So then I was like, all right, well, now I'm going to make sure and communicate with, network with other agents in other cities. I was just starting to teach in other cities, but making sure that I was just creating connections. And I'm part of the Keller Williams Young Professionals community. And I have been for many years. So that's been a huge, huge way that I've been able to connect with agents all across the country. So when I determined that 30% of my business came from that, I was like, you know what? What can I do to help gain more attention in that? So I created a referral partner program. Really, my referral partner program is, I'm a high systems person. I like systems. I record things. I write my own playbooks, SOPs for everything I do. So what I started to do is my referral partner newsletter, which I get over 50% open rate every single month. And I'm really proud of that, because that's really good.
Yeah, that's good.
And I have agents in other markets that are like, Winnie, I love opening up your newsletter. You always actually give something, instead of just being like, hi, these are my newest listings. This is what's happening in the Charleston market. They don't actually care what's happening in the Charleston market. So I'm offering value in general, but now they're also seeing, what are my processes with my clients? I actually have systems and checklists, and, and I host client events, for instance. So one time I did a yoga event. So I sent out my text threads, all my marketing materials, like my spreadsheets, what leads it garnered, everything like that. So now even these agents know, first of all, Winnie is organized. Second of all, she likes yoga. So, if I have a yoga friend moving to Charleston, like she's the girl. And then also like they know that I do client events. So I'm a relationship oriented agent versus, a kind of like online kind of wham bam, thank you, ma'am, kind of an agent. So now they know that about me. And so the agent to agent newsletter has been a really big thing that I've doubled down on. And I offer to people whenever I teach my classes to join my referral partner newsletter every month too. So that they can get that value. Hopefully they like it,
Right. Absolutely. Well, talking about the teaching, how did you get involved with the KW Young Professionals? How did that happen? And I think, for anybody that, when those opportunities present themselves to become part of those groups, you really got to seize them.
Yeah. So I was new to Keller Williams, but I had been in the business maybe about 10 months. So I'd sold a couple houses, but I knew that I didn't know enough. So I decided that I was going to join the Young Professionals chapter. And that kind of launched me into the teaching and everything that I'll share with you. So I volunteered. Like if I'm going to show up, and so I started out as the technology chair for the local Charleston chapter, worked my way into director of ops and then the president role. And during that time, I became more and more, I guess, like noted in other communities, because I'm having like conversations with other presidents, throughout the country. And kind of as an aside at the time, I started to teach in our local office because real estate and my brokerage like changed my life, that I was like, I want to teach this to the new agents too, because I know that I can instill a spark in people. That's one of my gifts. I know that I can do that. So I started teaching locally, and then I had the opportunity because of my connections with the Young Professionals group to start to teach nationally. And in our world too, in the Keller Williams world too, we have a Keller Williams University certified instructor. So you basically audition. It's very intimidating. You have to audition with master faculty members and get recommendations locally and across your region. So I just decided let's try this path and let's see if other people think I'm a good trainer too. Like I know I'm good at digesting information, and kind of like expressing it. And like I said, I wanted to be a teacher since I was 4, so I'm going to do it anyway. But now I'm on the path to be a master faculty member, of which there's only 46 in the company. I think maybe 47 in the company. So hopefully I'll achieve that next year. And really I didn't realize how many opportunities within real estate. Like real estate isn't just, you can sell a house or help a buyer buy a house. Like that is one of the income streams that you can generate through real estate. But as we found before, like I flipped houses before I even got into real estate, and I have since. And so there's so many different ways to earn income, but also to spread your gift, to like do what you love. So I buy and sell houses for clients. I bring new agents into our office. So I help like our recruitment team, and then I teach. And those are all 3 totally different gift sets, like skill sets. And it helps me create like this really balanced and aligned and sustainable business that I'm never bored in one. And I'm also a little bit more, recession proof, because I have multiple streams of income that I can kind of lean on within the real estate world. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. And when you are teaching, are you doing a lot of the marketing and branding? I have to imagine also you're teaching these systems too. And I think that's great that you have so many, that you do have, all that information to be able to give out, because real estate's, what I love about real estate is that you really can find success in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And, having all the different classes that you do teach is really cool.
Yeah, so I do like a full marketing rollout for every class that I teach, almost like a PR, like a promotional rollout. And it helps the offices too, right? So that I'm promoting the class in addition to them promoting the class, because sometimes, it's a drag if you're teaching to like two agents, versus 30 agents or whatever, or more.
Right.
So I teach, so I have like a whole rollout for that, which is all documented and, stuff like that. I don't know if you were asking anything else beyond that.
Yeah, but and when it comes to the actual when you are meeting with these agents and you're teaching them, are you teaching kind of the really diving into that personal branding and kind of building out and figuring out who they want to market and how they want to market themselves?
Yeah. So I developed a course earlier this year called the Branding Series, and it's a 4-part workshop. So one of the things that I have found about real estate classes in general is that there's a lot of concepts, but not a lot of the hands-on workshop systems that let's do it now kind of thing. And so the classes that I love to teach the most always have a workshop element in it. So that class in particular has gotten in like such good feedback. But we go through the first section is like building out your brand vibe, right? So we talk about your values, your skills, your gifts, your passions, what makes you tick, like who you are really outside of real estate, right? Because you just sprinkle real estate in, And then we even talk about like color theory, font theory, and putting that all together, like motifs and themes. And we put that all together so that they kind of narrow it down to create that focus, like what you focus on expands. And so whenever so the workshop kind of, we build all of it out first and then we narrow it down. And so then you have just like such a clear defined vision of who you are and how you're going to, kind of project that into the world. And then we go into content marketing. So we talk about like what platforms, evergreen platforms versus shorter term platforms, and which ones make sense for your brand and for your audience. And we build out your content pillars so that, and I tell them, I'm like, only one is allowed to be real estate. The rest of them cannot be real estate. Like, this is it. And so then they know what to post and where to post it. And so finally we go into systems. So I do share back office systems. I always say like, I share like behind the curtain. So I share with them, with my students, my email service, like what does that look like? Like a lot of the times my agents are already using like a similar CRM. So, how, like, here's a checklist that you can put into your CRM. Here's the process that you can use with your CRM. And we go through like what goals and how to track it. But I do a lot based in my email newsletter and social media and tracking and kind of like what systems I use in the background for my real estate marketing company, but also for your actual real estate company. And so by the end, they have a fully formed monthly and weekly content calendar. So that's one of my classes, and definitely like the one that I've been like teaching the most lately. And even with my other classes too, everything has a system. So at the end, there'll be like, say, a QR code, and you're going to get the printed up, typed up, copy and paste, put it in your CRM. Like, I don't want just the concepts. I'm just not here for the concepts. We already know the concepts. I want the like, here's the worksheet, here's the spreadsheet, here's the system, here's the tool that you can use to create that sustainability in your business after that. I'm very passionate about that.
Right. Absolutely. And so when as you've taught these classes and even the time that you've been in real estate before that, how have you seen agents, and just kind of the industry as a whole evolve more towards that, that personal branding and really, having people being more kind of awakened to, hey, I can brand myself as the real person who I am. I talked to a gentleman probably 2 years ago. He's from down in Florida, and his whole thing, he's Hawaiian shirts, he's longboard skateboarder.
Totally.
Like, that's his thing. And it's awesome. And he's killed it doing it.
Yeah.
So like, have you seen agents, kind of lean into that a little bit more?
I've seen it so much more, especially, similar to Florida, we have a kind of like a resort style feel in Charleston. And so like flip-flops are almost year round for a lot of people here. But I remember I was doing a branding consultation with someone in my office, and he was like, but I want to make sure this says luxury. This is what he, and I'm like, let me ask you a question. When your clients move here, like, what do they wear? Whenever like you're touring these luxury, like beach houses, like multi-million-dollar houses. And he's like, shorts and flip-flops or like boat shoes. I'm like, yeah, dude, like there it is. But I mean, even me, when I first started, if I didn't know the person that I was meeting with the first time, I would cover up my tattoo because I didn't want someone to judge me right out the gate. Now, what I found, of course, is that most people are a little bit more used to tattoos than they even were then. But I think that there's still a big group of agents that are using that should word. I should do it this way. I should dress like this. I should have this type of a car. And I see those agents as doing really well for just a few years and then burning out. Or the ones that have stood the test of time, like say, for instance, the agents that are like, I've been doing this 30 years. They've just embodied that. Whether they should do it and they just kind of went into that, like they do wear the blazer every day and the pumps, every day. But I definitely see that people want to do business with people that they know, like, and trust, right? So, and if you're showing, people can also smell phony. So like if you're showing up, a certain way, then there's a level of like, lack of genuineness that people just like start to smell. And I think in general, like we're just feeling like there's more permission to be ourselves. I think there's a big movement towards it in general. I remember, when just having a tattoo in general was like a death sentence for a career.
Right.
And now it's like, my mom has a tattoo, like, yeah. I was like, does she have more than one? No, she just has one. But like almost everybody has them. And that's just an example. But even just leaning into a more casual lifestyle with your clothing and things like that, I think that there's even something to be said for athleisure wear. Like I'm a very active person, most of the time I don't wear like yoga pants in public, that kind of a thing. Having said that, I'm going to do a yoga event, but there's definitely people that can lean into fitness as being the thing that pulls them. And then, oh, by the way, I'm a real estate agent. Nutrition that pulls them in. Oh, by the way, they're a real estate agent. Soccer mom. Oh, by the way, I'm a real estate agent. And just like realizing that it doesn't have to be I'm a real estate agent first. It's that you're you first. And you can magnetize people to you from just showing up as you. I think people are just seeing it more.
Right.
There's a big push.
Right. Absolutely. But I think also, the buyer and seller bases, they're, as younger people get involved in real estate, everybody's on the TikToks and everything like that. You can tell when somebody's fake or not now, and being able, and I think it's so cool how with, how much social media and everything there is out there and how even automated things have gotten. People want those real life human connections. And when you show up as that authentic person and you are, branding that authentic person, that's what they get. I know if I was looking to buy a beach house down the street here at the beach and the agent showed up wearing maybe, Columbia fishing shirt or something like that, like, hey, that's a local. He knows the area.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, in the real estate world, they do really want people to know where the good spots are, like that local stuff. I think like leaning into your local expertise is absolutely like one of the really big, important parts of it too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what, kind of the whole, like you said, the whole movement of just people being more open to things. And when I got my tattoo, I put it on the ribs because I didn't want anybody, I was afraid of I'm trying to get a job. Yes. Yeah. I was like, I'm 18. I want to be able to get a job. I don't want to, Totally. And, but yeah. I really do. I love like your social media content. Everything is so cool because you get a vibe of who you are right out of the gate. Like, who Winnie is pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And so my goal really is that other agents feel that way too, that it just exudes them. And then also it's less work that you have to do building trust with your clients whenever you meet them. They're like, oh my gosh, I feel like A, I already know Winnie, and B, her audio matches her video. So like that's already just like, boom, we're building trust because there's that reliability. One of the things I always joke, like my branding, I say so, like, legit, duh, bro, rad, like all these like silly words because I'm like, because this is how I talk, man.
Right.
You know, like, and like I make sure that even though if I were to be like, I can like pull the professional card, you know, and but within like 5 minutes, I'm saying those types of things. And so it's important to me that whenever I write my newsletters, I interject those types of things. And important, you know, when I'm writing my social media captions, that I'm interjecting those types of things. Just once again, so that the audio matches the video. We all know how to be professional. Well, I don't want to say all of us, but most of us know how to like button it up, you know, tighten it up and like, you know, go there. I actually read a book years and years ago. This was actually really one of the big things that shifted it for me. It's called Why Do Business People Talk Like Idiots? And it was like, because I was like English major, marketing minor. Like my mom is a big book reader. Like words really matter in my family. And so I feel like, honestly, I was a little bit snobby about words in my last career. And so I just was like, why do I want to do this anymore? Because when you use like too much jargon and too much like really, if you're being pompous, what you're doing is you're actually alienating the people around you. And so what I know to be true about me is that one of my values is connection. And so if I'm alienating people, I'm not able to fulfill one of my lifelong values, which is connecting to others. Now, having said that, that's because I've done the work to know what my value words are, you know, and done the work to understand that. But that's just an example is, you know, do you want to try to be better than your clients, or do you want to try to be just more educated in your one way, but be able to like relate to them? Like that magnetism, that's what people are looking for. They want to be able to see themselves in you. There's some sort of like aspirational meets relatable like vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think, you know, just kind of, I feel like, you know, really the overall theme, you know, in our conversation is, you know, finding success, you know, by being yourself and projecting that, because you're going to connect. People are out there that are going to connect with you, are going to resonate with you. And those are the people that are going to want to do long-term business with you. And really, that's how you have a sustainable, long-lasting real estate career.
Totally. I found somebody found me because I do like postcard mailers, and they were like, you didn't look like the rest of the agents, so we wanted to work with you. And I'm like, it worked. My postcards work, you know? And I'm like, this is real. And like, we're friends now, you know, because like, and we can talk about music because we have things in common. Because I mean, you can tell, like if somebody's coming in the fishing shirt, like you were talking about, you're like, this dude knows like where to go. Like he knows the tides or whatever, you know, like he knows like the boating rules, whatever. Like that's the person that you want to connect with.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're coming up on the end of the year here. What are some of your goals for the teaching, and then also, you know, just real estate in general?
Yeah. So, I mean, real estate in general, I've kind of like gotten into a rhythm where I feel like my goals don't need to shift too much. In general, I do want to continue to increase my referrals, right? Because that means that I'm helping others. And also it means that I'm able to pay out to other agents too. So like building those relationships with others. So always wanting to increase my referral percentage is always important to me. Cause that just means that that's a compliment. Like that shows that like I'm spreading the word and that people trust me. And then for teaching, so it was funny. My goal this year was to teach like in 15 different cities, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to teach in like 25 or so. So I would say, I guess my goal is maybe like 30 different cities next year. So yeah, really just, it's such a passion of mine to go out and teach. Like I can see the eyes light up. I can see the light bulbs go off. And the deal is once again, have you ever been in a class where the person is like just too perfect, or they're a gajillionaire and they have this business and they have like 50 agents on their team, and you're like, this isn't relatable to me. My goal is to be the person that's like, you know, the everyman kind of like theme in it. So really just like teaching around, and I teach mindset, recruiting, retention, and branding classes. So those are kind of my biggest ones in general, all with systems involved. So how to like systematize that so that it can be sustainable.
Awesome. Well, for anybody that's listening to this and wants to connect with you on social media or, learn more about, the teachings that you have, where can they find you?
So the best way, you can absolutely follow me on Instagram is my most robust platform. So it's @_Winnie and Company. And Winnie is spelled like Winnie the Pooh. And then my website is winnierodgers.com. And so that's where I have all of my courses and how to book me and how to, just set up a little time to chat with me. And I also have a real estate marketing company, REM Real Estate Marketing. So you can find us on social media and on the website for that. And that's where we do like the more one-on-one consultations. And we're actually going to be launching like a real estate marketing for real estate agent boot camp here in the next few weeks too. So stay tuned.
Awesome. Well, I really do appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Keep doing the good work.
I want to thank Winnie for joining us today, and I think it's awesome that she's been able to create a thriving real estate career without sacrificing who she truly is. Remember, if you would like to connect with Winnie or learn more about her courses, be sure to check out the episode description. So once again, if you think you or someone else on your team has an incredible story or real estate tips to share with our community, send us a message at feedback@smartagents.com. Well, that wraps things up for this episode, but remember, follow the show wherever you listen to podcasts and make sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents YouTube channel. Again, I'm Michael Walter, and we'll see you on the next episode.